You got sentinels attacking shit.
Would have blocked that out. And then, what was it? This. According to a 2018 United States Department of Defense report to Congress, the People's Liberation Army's anti-access/area denial military capabilities aimed at the First Island chain are its most robust. The report also stated the People's Liberation Army's Navy's ability to perform missions beyond the First Island chain is modest but growing. Oh, nice. The U.S. In April 2014, the U.S. Naval Institute assessed the First Island chain as the most effective point to counter any Chinese invasion. The U.S. could not only cut off the People's Liberation Army Navy from entering the West Pacific, but also predict where they may move by trying to break through in the first place. The U.S. and First Island chain countries are able to coordinate because the U.S. military's freedom of navigation around the first chain block. Yes, so this is where we get into alliances, right? So America is on good terms with the Philippines, which is down here, and we're obviously allies with Japan, which means that in terms of our ability to move through and around their territory, our ability to coordinate information and access and movement of our ships, we have this entire fucking wall right here, right? Yeah, we also have South Korea, which cuts off right here. So all of this is our shit. Yeah, we're on good terms with Vietnam as well. Vietnam First Island Chain Naval U.S. Agreement. That's going to cover it, doesn't it? As always, I don't get the information I want immediately. Well, that's fine. We're on good terms with Vietnam as well. I don't know where we stand necessarily with Indonesia. Isn't our relationship with Indonesia complicated? Certainly it's not just a straight up alliance, right? I don't remember that. I don't know much about Indonesia, to be honest. It's very big. A lot of islands. A lot of those alliances are because China's a huge dick. Yeah, a lot of these countries are terrified of China because it's the regional power. Does Luna Oi know that we're on good terms? I'm sure she likes to pretend that she doesn't know that. We help them start a white terror. Right, but I mean currently, you know. Might be Indonesia hates China more than us. Well, they're the bigger threat. Whatever the case may be, you know, clearly we have the upper hand when it comes to our ability to move here. If China wants to move, either militarily or with trade, it has to either, you know, go through like Japanese territory, or it has to go like right here, Philippines, or like, nah, there's like a lot of stuff it has to break through. Whereas we get the entire Pacific pretty much for free, you know? So that's cool. A June 2019 article published by the United States Naval Institute called for the Navy to establish and maintain a blockade around the First Island chain if the U.S. was to go to war with China.
What up, bitches? I'm back. Finished Spider-Man 2. I'm back here to tend to my crops.
Interesting. For Vietnam relations? China concerns drive
Debrief.
upgrade in U.S.-Vietnam relations.
Got all these light years in. What you got for me?
A diplomatic
Give it to me
agreement with
slow.
former foe Vietnam that was until recently almost unthinkable.
Making investments. Nice.
Shortly after touching down the country, Biden met Nguyen Phu Trong, I'm sorry if I fucked that up, General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam, to upgrade their ties to a comprehensive strategic partnership, the highest of Vietnam's 3 diplomatic levels. Oh, we've reached Tier 3 friendship with Vietnam. That puts us in the same category as China, Russia, India, and South Korea, a move American diplomats
Holy
have been seeking
shit.
for years. For the CSP's discussion with Australia, Indonesia, and Singapore. Nice. Does anything here apply specifically to China? A lot of it does, I can see. However,
Nice, don't
surface,
snitch
China
'em
might
out,
be
boys.
inclined to
Get that
ramp up
money.
aggressive maneuvers in the South China Sea or wield its economic influence as a warning sent to Hanoi. Huh. Isn't it weird that the domino theory proved wrong? not only did the domino theory prove wrong, the opposite of the domino theory kind of ended up being more salient, I feel. Our involvement in Vietnam and shit actually ended up exacerbating like Vietnam, our invasion of Vietnam did not help us, and Afghanistan's invasion the Soviet Union's invasion of Afghanistan likewise did not help them. It was kind of, you know, it's very stupid. When will Kissinger die? China seeks new fields of cooperation with Pakistan military. Interesting. Well, okay, wait, this is getting way too complicated for my tiny brain that hurts and is sore right now, okay? What was the lesson we learned from all this? It's bad to be bad. Yeah, that tracks. All right, moving on. Guys, good news. Remember back in 2017, there was the whole Charlottesville thing, and it was all about the proposed removal of a Robert E. Lee statue? They finally melted the statue down. That's cool, huh?
Let's go.
After all this time, here, I think the Washington Post has a video of it being melted down, which I want to see personally. Here we go. Look at how fucking cool it looks. Let me lower the volume. There he is, going to hell. Nice. Like a jet engine lull. You gotta get metal pretty damn hot to make it melt.
What kind of mission was this? A balanced one, right? Or what
Elon's
was it?
deleted tweet on this is unhinged. Yes, I saw
Industrial?
this. Apparently, a descendant of General Lee was like, "This is an attack on my ancestors. My ancestor was a good people." And Elon Musk responded, "They want your extinction." Because, again, Elon Musk, despite being the world's wealthiest man, has 40 IQ and will fall effortlessly down any right-wing pipeline he is introduced to. He has no
See ya,
convictions
boys.
or beliefs. He just
Man, you guys gotta get a
sort of
teleporter in
uncritically
here.
accepts every line you could
What
run
the fuck
down.
kind of shit is this?
While I didn't need a directly insulting gesture to tell me my kind is hated. So, again, my kind. So, is it a surprise that a descendant of General Lee would interpret his statue being melted down as an attack on my kind? Like, what does he mean, my kind? The Lee dynasty? No, he means white people. And of course, Elon also means white people. There are people on the right who are treating this as like kind of a humiliation show, almost like a show trial. Like, look at how they're mocking us. And the answer to that is yes, that is what is happening. Yes. Yeah. Yes. If you like General Lee, and if you support him or promote or whatever, like anything positive there, then yes, this is being done to mock and denigrate you. Yeah, we want your heroes to burn and for you to watch. Yeah, of course. This is an insult to our legacy. Yes. Yes. Your legacy is bad.
What do you want, kitty?
We're insulting it. That's true. So that's cool.
Was it you all morning? We were playing. Give me a break,
it is quite nice.
kitty.
We've talked about this before, but many of the
Jesus. What up? Is there something important? Criminals breaking in? What up? Got all these in here. Got a bunch of these. Hey, hey, hey. Hey, you got that stick on you. Hey, hey. Hey, get that gabagool on me. Hey.
Quote-unquote Civil War statues in the United States were actually erected during the time of the Civil Rights protests. Essentially, you had southern cities had all these uppity black people who were running around asking for crazy things like human rights and equal treatment under the law. And the white city councilmen were like, what's gonna scare those black guys? They didn't say black guys, by the way. They said another different word that I would never say. What's gonna scare those black guys off our streets? What if we memorialized soldiers who fought to keep them as slaves? And then they put up a bunch of shitty statues. There was like a map that you could see. I remember seeing it, showing it on stream before, where it's like, look at when all of these... I'm just going to find it because it's really crazy. Hold on. Map showing when Confederacy statues were erected. There was a very good map. I want to see... I want to see, like, the dates. This map reveals 1,747 monuments and other Confederate symbols of America's racist past. Cool, cool, cool. But show me when... Is this it? Why am I getting a call? One moment.
It's good to be back home. I gotta get an animal farm set up.
Wrong number, I suppose? Yeah, here we go. Whose Heritage, 153 Years of Confederate Iconography. So this shows Confederate monuments. And you can see the biggest spike of them right here. We're in the early 1900s. And this was right around the time... here, Sons of Confederacy, Sons of Confederate Veterans
Let's
established.
go.
Plessy v. Ferguson.
Everything's looking
Grace
good.
Confederate War. Basically, what happened was the Civil War happened, and then Reconstruction ended way the fuck too soon, and then enough time passed that racists in the South could pretend that the Confederacy was part of their legacy, rather than it having been like a 4-year-old government. So, because keep in mind, the Confederacy wasn't a legacy for shit. It was literally just a group. It was like a seditionist group. You know, they fucking, you know, declared war on the United States. They left. But this was distant enough. This was removed enough from the time of the Confederacy that they could pretend it was some kind of like, oh no, it wasn't really about slavery. It wasn't really about a rebellion. It's like, it's our man. So they built a bunch then, and then of course you have, you know, this World War I, blah, blah, World War II. Immediately after World War II, you have a weird gap you have a strange
I don't know if
lack
I'm gonna finish cooking.
of
It's not really worth
Confederate
it for the
memorials.
nanites,
And
but
my theory on this is that World War II gave
I'll keep my
America
shit in
an
there.
enemy that made it really difficult to lionize the Confederacy. Because America had just fought against fucking Adolf Hitler. And then when your enemy is literally like a eugenicist, genocidal maniac who based his principles on many American eugenicist movements, it's really difficult to then turn back around and go like, oh man, wasn't the Confederacy great? I think it just gave us like a different enemy perspective, you know? And then you see the largest surge of Confederate memorialization since the Second World War, which has not been matched since. And it was during the Civil Rights Movement. And that was because these fucking white citizen councils, these local government reps were like, I know what'll get those black people off my yard, you know? So anyway, I'm glad that they melted the statue. That's good. Yes, that's true. That's true, Imperial General. There was a lot of anti-segregation propaganda in World War II by the U.S. government. Yeah. Because as it turns out, if you want a nation to behave productively in the face of a great enemy, if you want America to, like, work well, you really don't want fucking race tensions. It turns out nations function better when you're not racist. So the government tried to do this whole,
Deep
like,
space
if
object,
you do
okay.
race fighting, you're helping Hitler shit, which, I mean, is true. You know, so...
there was something I saw about oxygen.
Oh, the
being
person
OP.
who Elon Musk responded to was just a flat-out Nazi. Today, Elon responded to and elevated a neo-Nazi who had posted racist memes. Oh, wow, this guy's really subtle. Damn. I'm thinking right now, this guy's high IQ dog whistles might be a little bit beyond me. You know?
I can turn it to
The
rusted
legacy of
metal.
General Lee.
Nice.
Who could have thought, huh?
Yeah, I don't know how that shit works. We got some extra gold here.
And Elon Musk, wealthiest man in the world and owner of Twitter, replied to him agreeing with him. Nice.
All right, let's collect
We have
our
time for a bit
resources.
more. Fuck, I don't want to stream today. God damn it.
Oh, new resources available at the overseer's office. Salvage parts, we don't need that. Actually, we should go there.
Hey, where's the clip? There we go. Lads?
It took 4 tries, but House Republicans finally elected a Speaker of the House.
The Speaker-elect, Mike Johnson, from the state of Louisiana.
Louisiana's Mike Johnson was the last man standing, cobbling together the support from a fatigued conference to win the vote unanimously and then promising to get right to work.
Yeah, that's right. They finally got a guy in. Adolf Hitler. One thing that's very frustrating to me about this guy is that he, at least in my opinion, is quite handsome. He's really selling like Clark Kent. So I can't do the normal thing where I make fun of their appearance in addition to making fun of their politics. It's very frustrating for me. But, you know, it's meant to happen. Yes, this guy is an insurrectionist, one of the top sort of advocates for Donald Trump's effort to turn back the elector votes on January 6th in order to make himself president when he lost the election. He's very bad, very bad. He's also, if you can believe it, he's a young Earth creationist, an actual one, as in he truly believes the Earth is 6,000 years old and everything that implies. So every conspiracy, every lunatic belief you would have to have in your head in order to justify the belief that the Earth is, or the humanity is only 6,000 years old, that is in his head. He's a lunatic. He's bad on every issue you can imagine. There's really, I don't even want to like go through the bad things he believes, because he believes every bad thing you can think a Republican politician would believe. He's really, 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 really bad. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This is actually pretty bad for Democrats, because I don't I don't think Republicans would have put him forward if their intention was to play ball with Democrats, so to speak. You know, he's not exactly the middle of the road, bipartisan, moderate candidate. That being said, there are some notes that you
I'm
can
gonna
take away
reorganize
from
my
this, okay?
landing
First
pads
of
so
all,
they
this I find most
navigate
interesting,
where I
okay?
want. I can
The
just lift off and go
behind-the-scenes
forward
get your
to the
shit
next
together
farm.
locker room prep talk that Republicans must have had to do to get this guy through must have been fucking biblical. After so much in the way of failing to get somebody put forward as a House Speaker, the Republicans had to whip the shit out of their guys to get them all together on this one. That to me suggests a level of desperation. They clearly weren't willing to keep the circus going for that much longer, which
Whatever.
is a reaffirmation that the circus made them look pretty bad. You know, it's a state they wanted to escape.
Fuck it, let me get navigation data.
Additionally, the fact that they chose this guy specifically means that they're more worried about the
where was the
far-right
navigation
people in the
data
GOP pulling away from the majority vote than they are from then they're worried about dealing with like mainstream moderate quote-unquote neocon Republicans. Of course, the mainstream Republican these days is like a crazy MAGA fascist, but it doesn't seem like they're that worried about the neocon types, the rhino types, because if they were,
Fuck,
they
where did
wouldn't
I
have put
buy
this
all
guy
that
forward, and
navigation
he wouldn't
data?
have won.
Fungusi.
So, yeah.
I gotta
The line
rename
is
this
very
base
blurred right now.
nav
The
data
line is
too.
very, very blurred. He did say something interesting. Wait, Mike Johnson, race. He said something. Let me see if I can find that clip on Twitter. He said something wacky. Can I find it? Please let me find it. Oh, here we go. I saw this very interesting clip.
About the difference in the experiences between my two 14-year-old sons, Michael being a black American and Jack being white Caucasian. They have different challenges. My son Jack has an easier path. He just does. The interesting thing about both of these kids, Michael and Jack, is they're both handsome, articulate, really talented kids, gifted by God to do lots of things. But the reality is, and no one can tell me otherwise, my son Michael had a harder time than my son Jack is going to have, simply because of the color of his skin. And that's a reality. It's an uncomfortable, painful one to acknowledge. But
He's woke Hitler. Following the murder of George Floyd, he, like, offhandedly, while talking about this, he expressed the belief that black people experience systemic discrimination in the United States, which is very, very, very strange, because this is not a mainstream belief to Republicans. The mainstream Republican belief is that
Bro, I'd you
is
go
that
over there.
the racism is over, and the failings of the black community in America are entirely a product of their culture or genetics. So for Mike Johnson, Adolf Hitler too, to literally just describe systemic oppression, it's very strange. So this speaks to one of two possible things. One could be he is weirdly not as bad on this issue as he is literally every other issue, you know? The other could be that he's shiftless and lies all the time. That he lies all the time. In my personal opinion, I think that the way he's talking here does not really suggest shiftless grifter behavior. What Republican would have been incentivized to say something like this back in like 2020 or whatever? Like, sorry, not 2020. Fuck George Floyd. Like a couple years ago. Like what pressure would have been put on a? I'm sorry. Where? Louisiana? Right? Yeah, Louisiana, Republican representative, to just be like, yeah, you know, I believe that racial oppression is real and black people experience systemic discrimination. I don't think there was any like social pressure for him to do that. I think this might just weirdly be something he, at least at that time, was not that bad on. I mean, by Republican standards.
people have to recognize that's a fact.
What should we do about that?
I think that we need, we really do need systematic change. I think we need transformative solutions. I think we're at a moment where we can begin to do more to form that more perfect union, as it says in the first line of the
He has a black kid. He has a black kid. Here's the older thread. George Floyd appears to have been a victim of murder. How many Republicans would have said this? May 29th, 2020. How many Republicans would have said this? Like, none. A close review of the video can lead to no other conclusion. The tragedy is focused spotlight once again the plight of millions of black men
See
in
if it
America.
lands in the
Clear
right
heartbreak must be
direction.
addressed. It's woke Hitler.
No. Yeah, whatever. Good enough.
We are all God's children, and we are all Americans. Here is a simple truth. Racism violates the most fundamental principles of our great nation and the rules of our Creator. This motherfucker, this guy's a young Earth creationist, and he's like, yo, God did not create the Earth 6,000 years ago for you bitches to be racist on it. Holy shit. Any fool who contends he has a natural right of supremacy over his neighbors violates not only the foundational creed of America, but the greatest commandments of our Heavenly Father. Good Lord. So it's because he's got a black son? Is that why? Like, he has a more personal experience with racism? That's interesting, you know? The main thrust of the current GOP propaganda machine is about trans people, but race issues have always been a huge part of it. It's very funny to me that they would get this radical, crazy Christian conservative who's weirdly woke. It makes me wonder if this is like, if that was the bipartisan measure, or maybe not the bipartisan measure, was that like the moderate measure, right? Maybe like, hey, maybe we can appeal to the more moderate Republicans and the crazy MAGA guys at the same time. He's a crazy young Earth creationist, you know, he's a fucking lunatic, he's an insurrectionist, so that's like pro-MAGA. But then on the other hand, it's like, okay, this guy doesn't literally want to like put black people in camps, you know? I wonder if that was the sell, or if that was just like incidental, if it was an accident, if it's just an interesting tidbit. I don't know. I grew up in an evangelical family. I can confirm that in spite of all their other problems, evangelicals are frequently not that racist. They have a very globalist perspective because they want to spread the faith to all the people. Yeah, I'm mostly talking about the behavior of like Republican politicians, because Republican politicians, basically down to a man, deny the existence of systemic racism. They have to. Because like if they give up the game on that, like that's like their whole, that's like hugely important to their messaging. So yeah. It's also worth noting that generally speaking, the way that evangelicals are anti-racist is with that like very patronizing,
Might build some more
invalidating, you know,
storage for
we're
the
all equal
gold
in
and
God's
silver.
eyes, and thank God America
I have a shitload of
doesn't
metal.
have racial problems. You know, like it's like, yeah, I'm anti-racist, and thankfully so is America. You know, we're post-racial, right?
You got a
So like
shitload
they're
of money.
anti-racist, but they still have to deny the existence of racism in order to enable
Excuse
the,
me.
you know, the whole like myth of meritocracy shit. Anyway, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Honestly, it's pretty wild. Like we'll see how it goes. It's wacky. It's very wacky.
Some wacky stuff,
yeah.
folks.
All right, I'll do a full segment on this tomorrow when I do a stream that hopefully I feel less terrible for. But just a quick little boost of serotonin before I go. Twitter's daily active users have been fucking plummeting since Elon Musk took over. Like, absolutely collapsing. Like, every other social media space has been growing, and Twitter has been plummeting at an ungodly and an increasing rate as well. Which is why Elon Musk has been focusing on metrics like user minutes or whatever, you know, stuff that are arbitrary shit he controls. Was the peak when Musk bought it? No, he bought it right here in October 2022, right? And then it went up a little bit, and now it's all this shit. Down to nearly minus 20%. That is insane. That is Ah, there we go. Yes, thank you, Posadas. The more accurate map. All right. I'm really sorry about the general attitude from today's stream. I don't mean to be unenergetic. It's just, yeah, I just physically have felt dog shit today. Oh, I did want to show you guys something cool that I did that I like. Actually, I can show you two cool things because I made 2 Lego builds. You can see one of them right behind me. This is the one you can't see. Look, it's a little
What the fuck is that?
like flower display that I think is really cute. Yeah, and then we have this thing. This thing is huge. It's
Oh,
huge.
shit.
Ah, the helmet fell. Ain't it cute? Beep beep. Is that Haruko's? Haruko had a yellow one. We raiding Demon Mama? Actually, we're reading Donos. Anguish, thank you for the $15. Stay sane. I'll try to. I appreciate that. Leafar, we will be talking about Hassan Minaj when we have time. When I have time. Thank you for 5. Imperial General, thank you for the incredibly kind Tier 4 sub. I really appreciate that. One thing that frustrates me about people who decry the U.S. increasing tensions with PRC usually have no idea what the South China Sea dispute or even what the 9-dash line are. Yeah, I think again, this is one of those like American Diabolus things, but a lot of people really fail to understand how much of the escalated tensions from China, or sorry, between U.S. and China are from China. It's like Russia as well. Like, if you simply said tensions escalate between U.S. and Russia, that would really kind of paper over the fact that Russia threatens to nuke the world every other day, you know? China escalates a lot of shit. The Bread Boy, thank you for the $5. Make yourself an Aperol Spritz. I have a lot to learn when it comes to making mixed drinks. I'll keep trying to learn. Hilosalot, thank you for $10. 1 shot Saint Germain, 1 shot Hendrix Floral Gin, 1 half shot honey syrup, 1 half shot rose water, 4 ounce cherry blossom LaCroix, fucking phenomenal. I'll have to see. I tend to like really sweet or sour drinks, like fruity stuff, you know. That's what I tend to gravitate towards. Shaky09 and Stuff Slacker, thanks for the tier 1 subs. I don't know what it would take for America to end its unconditional support for Israel. XLR, thank you for the tier 2 sub, much appreciated. Sake, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs, really appreciate that. Bosch is right, there's way too much sexualization of femboys, causing them to be super overrated. We need to sexualize bears. Probably be a step in the right direction. Teletech, thanks to the tier 4 sub. Chilling words. What the fuck? You're uber bangen theorem. Sheldon, no, oh. It's been playing audio, but it hasn't been because I didn't press the button. This would probably be a lot funnier with the audio.
Hitler? 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 Ja. Basingen. Hitler?
All right.
Bazingen.
If there is some underlying joke there that I'm not picking up on, I hope some people in chat seem to like it. I'm glad they do. I'm happy to see that. Me Informer, thank you for the incredibly kind $50. I really appreciate that. 2 weeks to go until my school board election night. We got 4 Moms for Liberty running against the 4 of us. Wish us luck. Oh shit, good luck. Like big time good luck. God damn. Seriously. And also thank you for the very kind dono. Don't donate anymore. Spend it on, I don't know, winning juice. Steroids. Skunksy and Zivu, thank you for the tier 1 subs both. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Skunksy. Appalachian Anarchist, thank you for the $5. Congratulations on buying your house. That's fantastic. Having a nice space to roam around in and make changes as you like. Still Alive, thank you for the $5. Really appreciate that. Casual Bogan, thank you for the 5. It's possible to make nukes without enrichment. Yeah, they just suck. India did so using natural uranium reactors based on the Canadian Candu reactor. You separate the PU chemically. Yeah, but the level of enrichment that you get there is not great, right? I don't know. I don't know the details. I'm sorry. I don't know the details. Myth and History, thank you for the 2 donos, $10 and $5 respectively. If possible, please go over this PBS segment on Israel. I'll give it a look, but I can't make any promises. Thank you. Moose Juice, thank you for the $5. Does wearing a spandex Spider-Man costume make you a furry? Yes. Sake Tanuki with the 10 tier 1 subs. If you need a feel-good, hilarious segment, oh no. No. Mama JF disappearance, why JF Gariepi is innocent. No, thank you. Nice try. No. Not for 1,000 donos. My goodness. Liquid Silver and Chicken Warrior, thank you for the $10 both. I really appreciate that. How would you keep a religious state from backsliding into reactionary views without the suspension of democracy for a period of secularization? I think there are a number of ways that you can do that, but like I guess like first and foremost, it would be like constitutional changes that prevent like religious motivation in political reasoning. Maybe I don't know. That's very complicated. It can be done, right? I mean, it's happened in many countries. Main shooter found dead. Oh, like right now? Breaking. The shooting suspect in Maine has been found dead. Multiple sources tell CNN. Killed himself. Yeah. Maine mass shooter is dead from an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. There we go, everyone. Everyone who called that and agreed with me, we're all smart today. Yep. Shot a bunch of people. The voices told him to do it. Ran into the forest. What else is he going to do? He's going to shoot himself. What is he like, yeah.
He's smart, man. He knows what he's doing.
Ask for my consult next time this happens.
Yep.
Pro Convo Man and Chicken Warrior, thanks to the 5 both. Really appreciate that. Deep Sea Fission, thank you for the $25. That's very kind of you. This is an older dono. There's older donos. Senua's Psychosis, thanks to the $5. I own Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. I just never played it Senua's. Can't promise I'll play it on stream, but it's on the list. The Steak Sauce 1, thanks to the $15. Hello, Vomch. First time dono, I love your streams. Thank you. I like them too when I don't feel like ass.
What?
Holdo Real, thanks to the tier 1 sub. Very sorry. I was able to get my Adderall. I hope you can soon as well. OS Crane, thank you for the $5. Really appreciate that. Referring back to how non-toxic this community is, the community is the biggest reason why I had the courage to come out. Nice! Well done, everyone. You helped OS Crane come out.
Oh, yeah, I did that.
Ham Monkey, happy birthday. Van Edible and Peacekeeper 11, thank you for the 5 both. Happy 5-year anniversary.
Gotta get more dioxide storage.
And I'll take a look, Peacekeeper. Thank you. You should DM me that in Discord, so I remember. Valabelle, thank you for the incredibly kind tier 4 sub. While phone banking, one of us got Sylvia's call. No shit. I think we got through 26k calls these past few days. Was very nervous, but was able to convince a couple people. That's wonderful. That's fantastic. Unfortunately, Sylvia did lose the race, but that's okay. You know, when you get involved in stuff like this, there are never any guarantees, and you do get stronger every time you try. Not only, you know, did we set a good precedent, but we also got some experience. I say we as though I was phone banking. I wasn't. Derain, thank you for the $5. Loverworm, thank you likewise. Fair Quinn, thank you for the 5. Thank you for covering The Voice here in Australia. Yeah, it's a complicated issue. I'm really sorry it panned out the way that it did. Socialist Satyr, Intern, and Nuts, thanks to the tier 1 subs. Horizon and Bass Ackwards, thank you for the 5 both. Really appreciate that. Yes, I believe so, Bass Ackwards. Horizon, congrats on your 5-year anniversary of being on HRT. Anguish, thanks to the tier 2 subs. Stay sane out there. Yeah. Nad Factory, thank you for the $10. Wanted to hear your opinion on the story and characters of Armored Core 6. From only voice acting, I connected with them so much. I'm going to be honest. I think that Armored Core 6 kind of sucked from a story perspective. I'm glad From Software made a modern version of the Armored Core games and didn't like change it so much that it became unrecognizable. And I know that there's a lot of weirdness to From Software writing that's kind of particular to their style of adaptation and translation. But at the same time, I just really didn't give a shit about the characters or what was happening. No, it was my first one, no less. Matazaris, Zachmon, Meowshi, and Verona, thank you for the tier 1 subs. Really appreciate that. One Angry Pagan and Noblesse, thank you for the tier 2 subs. Nebuku and Appalachian Anarchist, thank you for the $5. Really appreciate those. Oh, chat, can I show you a nice item of clothing that I got that I'm very happy with? I'm going to show you anyway.
Get some quick nanites. Nice. Thanks, buddy. Thanks for the glizzies. Let's go to Salvage Parts Colony.
I found one of these at Nordstrom Rack. It's my color. It shouldn't really be worn over something as thick as this shirt, so it's not going to settle on me properly. It's also one size too large, but look, okay? On the inside, it has this cool, like, loud arty pattern, and the sleeves are too long, which means that I can roll them up by one and get, like, a nice pop of color on the... Hold on.
Dick Cthulhu, what the fuck?
Go up. There we go. On the wrist like that. And the silhouette actually works pretty well for being oversized, you know? I think it's actually really cute. I got it for a steal too. Only $100, down from 300. That's a really nice jacket, actually. Yeah, I like it quite a lot. I had an event the other day, and there was a cold snap in Seattle, so I had, like, no fucking cold weather clothing. 300 for a coat is highway robbery? No. 300 for a coat is fine. But this one was discounted. You could get far more expensive coats. Is it brown or purple? It's burgundy. My color.
What up,
If you
my
start
boy?
spending more than $100-ish on your shirts, I'm gonna have to put you in my Hasanabi part of my brain. This is it's $100 for a high quality. The material is excellent. Okay, whatever. The last coat I bought was $18. I'm not saying you can't get cheaper clothing. However, okay, I'm not saying that this was a purchase motivated by, like, you know, cost saving, but if you get a couple of high quality clothing articles, you can save more. That's true. Hello? How do you feel about my clothes? Ooh, he's sweet. I also got some Tims.
Hey, Tim.
Never owned Tims before. Didn't realize they'd be that good.
Hey,
No wonder they're so popular.
yo.
Please tell me they're the shitty classic ones. I don't know enough about Tims to say whether they are. I know, we talked about the shooter.
Oh, I can manage it from here. Oh, shit. Nice. Or I can sell the industrial high-grade batteries for a lot of money. That's good.
Mind Forge and Poop Scoop, thank you for the tier 1 subs. Quixote, thank you for the $10. Really appreciate
go back
that.
home,
Started
sell
playing
all this
Mystical
shit,
Elysium and the game won't stop
refine,
calling me a moralist
sell
and
more.
Superstar. Also, what do you
Maybe
think about the anti-status sub? Seems like an incoherent ideology. I've never seen the sub. Also, stop being a moralist. Soveball and Game Dev Reacts, thank you for the $5 both. Really appreciate that. Jason O'Connell, thank you for the $10. Really appreciate that as well. Yeah, it makes sense to me that Elon would have his factories become personality cults. 1,000 Dumplings, the $5. I'm a plus-size trans girl, and your fashion videos have encouraged me to try and branch out from just wearing black tees and sweats. Thank you, Vosh. Oh yeah, of course, absolutely. Yeah, I went to like Nordstrom Rack the other day and like got a bunch of fall clothes. I got a Henley. I got 2 button-ups, one of which was a flannel from North Face, actually. I got this jacket. I got 2 pairs of jeans, some red chinos, the Timbs, nice pair of socks. Yeah, it's good. Noxie, congrats on starting.
3
yesterday.
mil.
Thank you.
Holy shit.
Tim Say, thank you for the $5. Benjamin Gilbert Lift, thank you for the $10. Really appreciate that. Moxie Productions Live, thank you for the $2.49. Facetious, thank you for the $69. That's the sex number, baby. Let this sink in, baby. Elon 2024. Yeah. On the anniversary of that. None of your business. Thank you for the $5 and $2 both. Really appreciate that. You always have great opinions. How do you reach them? Good clothes lead to good thoughts, okay? You have to get drippy. Not a pseudonym. Thank you for the tier 1 sub. Really appreciate that. Enjoy your burrito. Music Fab and Balthazar, thank you for the 5 both. It's very kind of you. Mistress Lynn, thanks for the tier 1 sub. Maybe sometime in the future. Sake Tanuki, thank you for the 5 tier 1 subs. I'll keep that in mind.
All right,
Fantasy
we got a
Joe,
lot of
thank you
shit
for the $10. Really
here.
appreciate that. Likewise,
Okay,
Capital H
hold on.
Anarchist, very kind of you. Sarah TBD, thank you for the $5. Very kind of you as well. Benjamin Gilbert Lee, thank you for the $100. Jesus, man.
Let's do a platinum
this
first.
Is
It's a lot of
from
money.
9 days ago. I haven't read donos in a while. That's on me. Thank you. Harambus 1, thank you for the $20. Enemy Spooted, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Afro 22 and Time Memorial, thank you for the 5 both. Really appreciate that. Joshua S, thank you for the $20. Anyito, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Thank you very much, the $5 for your viewership tax. How far back do these donos go? 10 days? Jackie Carbonneau, thanks for the $1. Jane MF Arc, thank you for the $22. I really appreciate that. Flyfish, thank you for the tier 2 sub. Adson, thank you for the 10 Australian. Really appreciate that. Still alive. Thank you for the $3. Renew Woo, thank you for the $5. Really appreciate that. Thanks, Renew Woo. Alice Payne, thank you for the $10. It's very kind of you. Fishik, thank you for the tier 1 sub. Very kind of you. Emish, thank you for the 5. Lover Woman for the 5. Thank
As
you
a
very,
matter
very
of
much.
fact, hold
I did not
on.
make my V look like me in Cyberpunk 2077. Harry S. Plinkett, thank you for the $2. Balthazar, thank you for the $20. Likewise, still alive. Both of you, very kind. I really appreciate that. Nacho Fast, all my cats are named after pathologic NPCs. Thank you. Two Dad Smooching, thanks to the 2 tier 1 subs. Really
Put 'em all in
appreciate
here
that. Jack
first
DeBruce,
and
thank
sell
you for
what's
the
extra.
$20. I'll take a look at the link, but on my time, I think. D. Quinn, thank you for the €2. Twixius, thank you for the 2
Wow,
sub.
we barely have any silver.
Panic Stasis, thank you
to
for the tier
mix
4
with the
sub. I really, really
platinum.
appreciate that. Does Bruno Mars is gay?
We'll
yes.
just sell all
Sigma
that.
Mayo, thank you for the tier 3 sub. That's very kind of you. Tupac Yo, thank you for the $50.
Yeah, we have so
My goodness, you
much
guys.
gold.
Thank you
Holy
for everything you
shit.
do, Bosh. I enjoy your takes and content.
can we
a lot,
sell
and I
one
wanna support
stack
you
for
since I'm
3
using
mil?
Apple Opera and
Goddamn.
YouTube. Greetings from Turkey. Thank you. You never need to feel as though it's important. It's never necessary to monetarily support me. But of course, I always very much appreciate it. Thank you.
Maybe put an extra stack on
Wu
my
X Record,
starship.
Thanks to the tier 1 sub. Leverworm, thank you for the 5. Still alive.
Yeah.
Thank you for the 5. When I play older games off stream, do you ever have your roomies watch you or ever join in? No, I play my games on my own. Tim Karados, thanks to the €5. Sipping on Left Wing Lean, thank you for the $10.
9 mil,
Very kind
goddamn.
of you. Sake, thanks to the 10 tier 1 subs. No blue name for Sake Tanuki. Curious.
There we
Albion Zero
go.
31, thank you for the $10. Watch
Still
the
got
Silent
some more
segment, which
silver.
you two
We
work
coulda
together in the
used
future
that.
in a
Oh,
productive,
we'll sell it.
non-combative manner. I hate that 1 or 2 issues so easily divide leftists. It's not really a 1 or 2 issue thing, but I think that his behavior has been far more detrimental to any kind of constructive engagement than anything that I've done. Thank you, Atrax. Sake, thank you for the 10 tier 1 subs. Not even a defensive JF, just making fun of him. If we were to recreate all the biblical holy sites in the US, would that validate all the crazy Mormon lore thonkers? That's true. If we relocated Israel to Montana, that would imply Montana is the Holy Land, which would prove Mormonism correct. We have to be careful with that. They're powerful enough as it is. Levant Gongchi, thank you for the 1,000 hoofs. Kowalski from Nebraska, thank you for the $5. Congrats on your 30th birthday.
Silver, gold,
Felix Argon,
platinum.
thanks to the tier 2 sub. Far Eastern Myth,
See if
thank
any
you
more
for the tier 4
resources we
sub. Really
need.
appreciate
Oh, we
that.
need a lot of
We need to
oxygen.
ask
Fuck.
Israel supporters why they support Netanyahu, who gave money to Hamas.
Need
and
more
openly despised the
oxygen. I
Palestinians.
think we're good on
Always tied
ferrite,
us support them.
paraffinium.
True, though to be fair,
Do we have a cobalt
Netanyahu's
farm?
support has never
gotta get a
been
cobalt
lower
farm going.
than it is right now, so there is that at least. Atrax the Angler, thanks to 5.
I wonder
Just
if there's a
started my content
hydrogen
creating journey.
farm we can
Nice.
get.
Great equipment, still stutter on takes, can't shake it. You get used to it. That's nice. Far Eastern Myth, thanks to 2 tier 1 subs. And the final dono that I'm reading today. Dick Thulu with the 5 tier 2 subs. Thank you very, very much. As someone who agrees with you in every position, I just wanted to thank your community for giving me the courage to realize I've been right about everything. You know, that's true. It does take a lot of courage to realize and fully accept that you're right about everything. People are always like, it's so conceited. What have you? That can't be true. But it takes a lot of heart to push through that. You know, it's true.
Okay, so we got oxygen back. Let's get some carbon back.
I think the
There we go.
site didn't
We
pick up some of the
condensed
YouTube
carbon.
super
Let's get a
chats.
little bit of everything.
No, it didn't pick up any of them. Why does that keep happening?
Well, we could use some more condensed
There must
carbon.
be
What the
something
fuck is this
fucky
doing
about
in
the
your
back and
crystal
forth there.
sulfide?
Hold on.
Okay.
Watson the Tambor, thank you for
Use
the
some
$5.
ferrite.
I have heard of that, though I'm not sure how true it is. Hackpiss, thank you for the 10 PLN. Am I a
more
bad
of
person if
that.
I hate hearing about this news?
Uranium? Do we have any
No,
extra
not at all.
uranium?
No, Thana, it's okay. I know it has something to do with YouTube.
We should
being
make some
fucking-
extra uranium.
Coffee Lover, thank you for the $5.
Nah.
You hear about numerous content creators exposing the pro-Israel movement, offering to pay them. Yeah, I don't know how true that is. I'd have to look at it. You know, because it's pretty easy to fake stuff on this. Housecock, thank you for the $10. As one of your Jewish fans, I just want to say thank you for speaking out on the game Israel is playing with us broadly. I'm honestly scared for my family. I hope your family stays safe. It's rough around. Charlie Jinmir, thank you for the $10. Apparently, the UK has taken public comments about banning puberty blockers. And my UK I love that. I love the idea of like, hey, should we allow this medical practice? Let's take it to the public. What? Jesus. I'll look at it, Charlie Jinmir. Thank you for the 2 additional bucks. Watson the Tambor, thank you for the 5. Rex Gardner, thank you for the 5 as well. Sorry, Vosh called you to inform you the hair removal cream for your groin and anus are not currently available. Nice meme. Why would I ever remove the hair from my groin and anus? Dude, I have chest hair that goes up to my neck. Anyone who sees my photos and wants to fuck me is not going to be surprised or disappointed to see that I have hairy fucking cock and balls. You know, like what? Like, so anyone who... So they see all of this and they're like, man, I can't wait to take this guy's pants off and see a perfectly shaven cock and balls and asshole, you know, just like completely hairless. Darren Osborne, thank you for the 5. Metal Dragon, thank you likewise. Really appreciate that. As a native English speaker, should I learn Japanese or Russian? That's your personal preference. I don't fucking know. I don't know anything about either of them. I probably know more Japanese than Russian just through cultural osmosis. SR Warner, thank you for the $5. Spencer Howard, thank you for the 2 Australian. Naomi Chance, thank you for the $5. Been watching stuff I missed from last year. It's a shame Rose Wrist walked the path he ended up walking. I don't know anything about that. I had some disagreements with Rose Wrist at a point, I think, but I don't know anything past that. I don't even know if he still makes content. Rose Wrist is a really, really, really smart guy. So regardless of whatever like political disagreements we have, you know, I would hope, without knowing, I would hope that he uses those brains for pushing good positions. Yobly Hop, thank you for 20 pounds. I really appreciate that. Just wanted to say I discovered you a week ago and I like you and you made me feel way more left than I was before. Wish I had someone like you over here. Greetings from Germany. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that very much. I feel bad if you discovered me only a week ago. That means that you've only been a fan of me during a period of non-existent or terrible streams. But that should change soon, I feel. Very Fire, thank you for the 2. Thank you all very much for the kindness, the kind words, and the donations. I really appreciate that. Yeah. I am going to send you over to... Somebody said Demon Mama is... is that true?
Openly weird and like literally early.
Yes. So I'm going to send you all over to Demon Mama. Yeah, I saw her the other night. Went to a pumpkin fair thing. Bosch ad button. For a stream like this, no, I have standards. Good luck, guys.
Trump has been gagged multiple times by the court. Yes, as soon as multiple gag orders had been issued, it seemed like Trump has violated them, and that's gonna be a whole thing. And I know we did a whole video on how Trump was claiming he was under a gag order when he wasn't. Well, now the gag orders are really coming down. U.S. District Judge Tanya Chutkan has heard enough, and after a 2-hour hearing about Donald Trump's habit of calling prosecutors and witnesses liars, thugs, and traitors, the judge has issued an order barring him from making any public statements targeting witnesses, lawyers, and court staff. Now, the order applies to all parties, but so far only one of them has been suggesting that some witness kinda, sorta, maybe should have been executed. And that person is Donald Trump. Judge Chutkan said Trump can, quote, assert his belief that this prosecution is politically motivated, but his, quote, First Amendment freedoms do not allow him to launch a pretrial smear campaign. So, of course, Trump quickly exercised his free speech rights and blasted the order.
I'll be the only politician in history that runs with a gag order where I'm not allowed to criticize people. Can you imagine this? Do you believe this? I'm not allowed to criticize people, so we'll see. We'll appeal it, and we'll see, but it's so unconstitutional.
Now, after the Justice Department indicted Trump in D.C., Trump vented on Truth Social, "If you go after me, I'm coming after you." Now, there are obviously many ways you can interpret that statement. Trump did not identify anyone by name, nor was it even clear his comment was about the D.C. case. He could have been talking about any of the people on his enemies list, such as Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, or the editors who dropped him from the Forbes 400 list. However, the government contends that Trump was obviously talking about the D.C. prosecution. Special counsel Jack Smith said Trump subsequently, quote, made good on his threat by making inflammatory comments about the case on an almost daily basis. For example, Trump described Judge Chutkan as a biased Trump-hating judge who deserves a filthy and crime-ridden district that is over 95% anti-Trump. He also posted derogatory things about Bill Barr and Mike Pence. So Smith filed a motion asking the court to stop Donald Trump from making public statements, attacking the citizens of the District of Columbia, the court, prosecutors, and prospective witnesses. Prosecutors said that, quote, Trump's relentless public posts marshaling anger and mistrust in the justice system have already influenced the public. For instance, on August 5th, 2023, police arrested Abigail Jo Schrei for making, quote, racist death threats to Judge Chutkan. The government also said that jurors are already fearful of blowback by angry Trump supporters, citing the criminal trial of Brandon Fellows, a Trump supporter who was at the Capitol on January 6th. You might recall that during the trial, the jury sent the court a note expressing concern that Fellows might have information about the identity of the jurors. But naturally, Trump opposed the motion. He argued that a gag order would be a prior restraint on political speech that would violate his First Amendment rights. Quote, the Biden administration charged President Trump, the leading contender in the 2024 presidential election, for statements he made as president. Now, keenly aware that it is losing the race for 2024, the prosecution seeks to unconstitutionally silence President Trump's, but not President Biden's, political speech on pain of contempt. And Trump argued that the court has less draconian tools to ensure a fair trial, including a change of venue, postponement of the trial, extensive searching of prospective jurors, and sequestration of the jurors as well. Those are arguably less restrictive options than the blanket protective order. And Trump wasn't wrong. Americans have First Amendment rights to freedom of speech, and criminal defendants have a constitutional right to a fair trial. And you don't give up those rights even when you're accused of 90-something crimes.
I got 99 problems, but
Judge.
hit me.
But there are scenarios where a person's right to a fair trial can be in conflict with someone else's free speech rights. If there is too much commentary about a case, it can taint the jury pool. Now, this is a fairly underdeveloped part of constitutional law because criminal defendants rarely have such a burning desire to make pre-trial statements, as well as the means to fight the court when they issue these types of orders. But the Supreme Court has held that judges can limit attorney speech when a lawyer's words have a substantial likelihood of materially prejudicing a legal proceeding. In Gentile versus State Bar of Nevada, the court said that attorneys aren't entitled to the same degree of protection as the media. But what if a person is making incendiary statements as a criminal defendant? Well, the Supreme Court has never explained which standard applies to the speech of a criminal defendant, let alone the standard that applies to a person running for president. In Trump's case, the government argued that the court should apply the standard articulated in Gentile versus State Bar of Nevada, while Trump argued that the Gentile standard only applies to lawyers. Trump contended any speech restrictions on defendants must survive strict scrutiny, meaning that the government must prove that any prohibited speech would constitute a clear and present danger to the administration of justice. At the hearing, Judge Chutkan announced that she would sidestep the issue of the proper standard. She said, quote, I intend for any order I issue to meet to satisfy either test. Now, as you can probably tell, Trump is going to need a good lawyer to fight all these gag orders. But if you want a great lawyer, my firm, the Eagle Team, can help. If you've had an injury or death in the family, suffered a data breach, or were involved in a car crash, we can represent you or help find you the right attorney who can. Because getting a lawyer right away is so important to make sure you get a full recovery. Just click on the link in the description for a free consultation with my team. Because you don't just need a legal team, you need the Eagle Team. Link is down below. Now back to all the gag orders. But different courts have different rules. In Trump's New York hush money case, Judge Juan Manuel Merkin issued a protective order preventing Trump from publicly discussing the evidence disclosed during the discovery process. The order also prevents Trump from receiving the names or other identifying information about people who work for prosecutor Alvin Bragg, other than prosecutors and law enforcement members, until the start of jury selection. However, Judge Merkin refused to characterize this as a gag order. He said he would not impose a gag order because, quote, such restraints are the most serious and least tolerable on First Amendment rights. That does apply doubly to Mr. Trump because he is a candidate for the presidency of the United States. In Merkin's view, the government would need to show that Trump's speech presented a clear and present danger before he would restrict it. In Trump's New York civil trial, Judge Arthur Engeron issued a limited gag order after Trump posted a photo of the judge's clerk with Chuck Schumer along with a link to her private Instagram profile. But Judge Engeron was not amused. He said, quote, consider the statement a gag order forbidding all parties from posting on social media about members of his staff. Judge Engeron did not limit Trump from speaking about the judge, though. In Washington, D.C., the local federal court rules are stricter. In order to avoid interfering with a fair trial or prejudicing the administration of justice, Rule 57.7 prohibits anyone from making a public statement about, quote, the identity, testimony, or credibility of prospective witnesses, and any opinion as to the accused guilt or innocence, or as to the merits of the case or the evidence in the case. If the case is a widely publicized or sensational criminal case, the court, on motion of either party or its own motion, may issue a special order governing such matters as extrajudicial statements by parties, witnesses, and attorneys likely to interfere with the rights of the accused to a fair trial by an impartial jury, the seating and conduct in the courtroom of spectators and news media representatives, the management and sequestration of jurors and witnesses, and other matters which the court may deem appropriate for inclusion in such an order. Trump ally Roger Stone ran afoul of this rule when he posted a photograph of Judge Amy Berman Jackson with crosshairs superimposed over her image. The judge said Stone was trying to, quote, gin up more public comment and controversy about the legitimacy of the Mueller investigation, the House investigation, and to get people to question the legitimacy of the prosecution. She concluded that Stone was acting in a manner that would pose a substantial likelihood of material prejudice. Now, the gag order hearing in front of Judge Chutkan went about as well as you might expect. The judge went through several of Trump's statements, asking both sides to comment about whether Trump's comments interfered with a fair trial or prejudiced the administration of justice or the credibility of witnesses. Judge Chutkan was most concerned about whether Trump's statements about the judicial system and its employees violated local rules. She said she was aware of and did not care about what Trump said about her, but she was appalled by Trump's comments about Judge Engeron's clerk. She wanted to know if John Lauro, Trump's attorney, agreed that such statements were out of bounds. Lauro said he would advise Trump that such comments were a bad idea, but he also argued that, quote, nothing has happened like that in this case, and nothing like that will happen. Judge Chutkan was skeptical. Lauro said there's no need for an order because when a judge or lawyer tells Trump to do something, he does it. Quote, because if your honor makes that kind of admonition, it will be followed, and it has been followed. Lauro really did say that, but without cameras in the courtroom, I don't know if he said that with a straight face. Judge Chutkan asked Lauro about the things that Trump said about Bill Barr and Mike Pence, and Trump posted a video attacking Barr for not helping him overturn the election and criticized Pence for not throwing out electoral votes.
Why does Fox News constantly put on slow-thinking and lethargic Bill Barr, who didn't have the courage or stamina to fight the radical left lunatics?
And she also wanted Lauro to address Trump's September 22nd comment about Joint Chiefs of Staff General Mark Milley. Trump said, quote, this guy turned out to be a woke train wreck who, if the fake news reporting is correct, was actually dealing with China to give them a heads up on thinking of the President of the United States. This is an act so egregious that in times gone by, the punishment would have been death. Lauro said that Trump's commentary about Milley, Pence, and Barr is acceptable because, quote, none of them have ever suggested that the criticism of President Trump has led to any diminution of their ability to do their jobs or testify or do whatever they want to do in terms of criticizing President Trump. Just the opposite, they give as good as they take. Judge Chutkan disagreed. Quote, that's right up to, would no one rid me of this meddlesome priest? If you suggest that someone is deserving of execution, that's not a far stretch to imagine a situation where one of the millions of followers of this person decides to go ahead and do that. Laura responded by saying she hit the nail on the head and brought up the time that a deranged Bernie Sanders supporter shot Steve Scalise, which really is not exactly the point that he was trying to make there. Lauro said that the gag order proposed by the government would mean that Trump couldn't truly campaign against Joe Biden, but even under the government's proposed order, the prosecutor conceded that Trump wouldn't be barred from attacking Joe Biden or Joe Biden's Justice Department. But the government didn't totally have its way during this hearing. The prosecution sought a very broad gag order that would have undermined Trump's ability to challenge the prosecutions as politically motivated. The DOJ wanted to bar Trump from making any derogatory statements about the Department of Justice or Merrick Garland. Judge Chutkan was
land
reluctant to
over here.
impose a restriction on Trump's ability to challenge his prosecution by the DOJ. Quote, it seems awfully close to
Not
his right to
clear?
assert
What
his
the
innocence
fuck?
and criticize the government. And the Supreme Court emphasized in Gentile that speech critical of the exercise of the state's power lies at the very center of the First Amendment. And while the government tried to persuade Judge Chutkan that Trump's attacks on the city would somehow prejudice the jury pool, she disagreed. Quote, this is not about whether I like the language Mr. Trump uses. This is about language that presents a danger to the administration of justice. So after a 2-hour hearing on the motion, Judge Chutkan issued an order granting the motion in part and denying the motion in part. Quote, in order to safeguard the integrity of the proceedings, it is necessary to impose certain restrictions on public statements by interested parties. Undisputed testimony cited by the government demonstrates that when defendant has publicly attacked individuals, including on matters related to this case, those individuals are consequently threatened and harassed. The judge found that Trump went beyond merely
I gotta
criticizing
build
the
an
judicial
underwater
process. He
vehicle.
crossed the line by
The
stating
Nautica
that, quote,
thing.
particular individuals involved in it are liars or thugs or deserve death. The court finds that such statements pose a significant and immediate risk that 1, witnesses will be intimidated or otherwise unduly influenced by the prospect of being themselves targeted for harassment or threats. 2, attorneys, public servants, and other court staff will themselves become targets for threats and harassment. And that risk is largely irreversible in the age of the internet. Once an individual is publicly targeted, even revoking the offending statement may not abate the subsequent threats, harassment, or other intimidating effects during the pretrial as well as trial stages of this case. The judge rejected Trump's contention that the court can't limit his speech because he's running for president. Quote, the bottom line is that equal justice under the law requires the equal treatment of criminal defendants. Defendants' presidential candidacy cannot excuse statements that would otherwise intolerably jeopardize these proceedings. And her order applies to all parties to the case, not just Donald Trump, though, in fairness, it's only going to affect one person. It limits that person or people from making public statements that target prosecutors, defense counsel, the court, staff, and any reasonably foreseeable witnesses or the substance of their testimony. But the judge did allow criticism of herself. And accordingly, Judge Chutkan ordered, quote, all interested parties in this matter, including the parties and their counsel,
there it is.
are prohibited from making any public statements or directing others to make any public statements that target 1, the special counsel prosecuting this case or his staff, 2, defense counsel or their staff, 3, any of the court staff or other supporting personnel, or 4, any reasonably foreseeable
Can I take my
witness or the
ship
substance of their
underwater?
testimony. Now, that is a gag order, but it's not a total gag order. Trump is not prohibited from maintaining his innocence, describing his prosecution as politically motivated, or criticizing the government. Now, if a judge finds the defendant has disobeyed an order of the court, the person can be found in criminal contempt. And criminal contempt can carry a penalty of days in jail, thousands of dollars in fines, or both. The court can also impose stricter orders and fines. A person in violation of a court's order can have their bail revoked, meaning that would put the person in custody until trial. That's what happened to Sam Bankman-Fried, who was under house arrest while awaiting trial. Prosecutors said that Bankman-Fried tried to intimidate former FTX CEO Caroline Ellison by publicly sharing her diaries. And he allegedly also tried to contact FTX General Counsel Ryan Miller over email and the encrypted messaging platform Signal, which violated the judge's conditions of release. So the judge in that case revoked his bail. But if you're anticipating that Trump would be put behind bars for violating any of these gag orders, you probably should lower your expectations. Given the circumstances of these cases, I wouldn't expect that to happen unless it was the most extreme of circumstances. And judges know that keeping Trump from making disparaging remarks is playing a game of whack-a-mole, but courts do have other options to coax him into compliance. For example, Judge Chutkan previously suggested that if Trump cannot follow the court's orders, she will bump up the March trial date. And it's likely that Trump doesn't want any of his trials to happen before the 2024 election. And at the hearing, John Lauro told Judge Chutkan that she could avoid the First Amendment issues by postponing the trial until after the general election. She brushed off that suggestion because it's probably the strongest tool she has to get Trump to comply. But of course, as soon as these gag orders were issued, it seems that they were violated. We're now getting a look at just how hard it is to coordinate a presidential campaign during a trial. On October 20th, the New York Attorney General alerted Judge Engoron that Trump had failed to remove a post about the judge's law clerk from his campaign website. Judge Engoron said, quote, I learned that the subject offending post was never removed from donaldjtrump.com and in fact has been on the website for the past 17 days. Incendiary untruths can and have led to serious physical harm. I will now allow the defendant to explain why this should not end up with serious sanctions or I could possibly imprison. He asked Trump lawyer Chris Kise why Trump shouldn't face serious sanctions, and Kise said it was just an accident. Trump had deleted the post from his social media accounts, but it was still on the campaign website. And after a brief recess, Trump's lawyers told the judge that nobody really saw the post. Trump's lawyer said that The campaign sent emails to roughly 25,000 recipients, but only around 6,700 of those messages were open. But Judge Engoron was not amused. He fined Trump $5,000, but warned Trump not to do it again. Trump was, quote, way beyond the warning stage. But since Trump was a first-time offender, he felt that it was only appropriate to fine Trump a nominal amount. And Trump quickly gave Judge Engoron another opportunity to ramp up his fines. On the day Michael Cohen was testifying in the civil case, Trump offered these comments.
If we had a jury, it would have been fair, at least, even if it was a somewhat negative jury, because no negative jury would vote against me. But this judge will, because this judge is a very partisan judge, with a person who's very partisan sitting alongside him.
When the judge found out about these remarks, he assumed they were directed at the judge's clerk, a clear violation of the order. Judge Engoron said, quote, "It's very easy for the public to know who that person is. I'm very protective of my staff, as I believe I should be. I don't want anybody to be killed." And then the judge asked Trump's lawyers why there should not be severe sanctions for this blatant, dangerous disavowal of a clear court order. Chris Kise said Trump was obviously talking about Michael Cohen, not the court clerk. Kise said that the context was that Cohen was partisan. This seemed dubious because Trump wasn't discussing the substance of Cohen's testimony, and Cohen was not sitting next to him. It seemed clear Trump was referring to how the court was administering the case, that this is a bench trial instead of a jury trial, and that the judge and his clerk were Trump haters, and the clerk is the one that was sitting close to the judge. The judge tabled discussion of the matter until after the lunch break, when Trump agreed to take the witness stand where he was put under oath. Judge Engoron asked Trump who he was referring to, and Trump said, "You and Cohen." The judge said, quote, "First of all, my principal law clerk is very close to me. You and I can see each other, and we are close, but not as close. And there's a barrier between us, so wouldn't that at least be somewhat ambiguous as to whom you are referring?" Trump didn't back off of his claim that he was referring to Cohen, which was probably smart on his part. But the judge said, quote, "As the trier of fact, I find that the witness is not credible," and he fined Trump $10,000. Now, again, this fine is small in Trump's world, but the overall finding is a big deal. The judge, who's going to render a verdict in this case, found that Trump lied to his face. Other judges will probably take note, as will the special counsel. And speaking of Judge Chutkan's case, Trump appealed the gag order to the DC Circuit of Appeals, where he asked for an emergency stay pending appeal. Trump's lawyers also asked Judge Chutkan to stay her gag order while they prepared a full appeal, and Judge Chutkan issued an administrative stay of her own order. Now, the gist of Trump's appeal is that the order is unconstitutional because it limits his right to engage in court political speech. Trump argues that the part of the order restricting comments about Barr, Milley, and Pence is unconstitutional. Quote, "The witnesses that third parties listening to President Trump have supposedly intimidated, former Vice President Pence, former Attorney General Barr, and former Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Mark Milley, are extremely high-level public figures who have voluntarily entered the public arena and invited the cut and thrust of public debate by openly criticizing President Trump. Thus, the prosecution's speculation that these witnesses will be, quote, intimidated by President Trump's criticism is non-credible on its face." And Trump claims that the government should have produced affidavits from these witnesses attesting that they've faced intimidation and harassment. And these are not crazy arguments. Trump got support from the ACLU, which probably hasn't happened all that many times before, which filed a brief supporting Trump. Anthony Romero, director of the ACLU, said, quote, "If we allow his free speech rights to be abridged, we know that other unpopular voices, even ones we agree with, will also be silenced. As much as we disagreed with Donald Trump's policies, everyone is entitled to the same First Amendment protections against gag orders that are too broad and too vague." The ACLU argues that the word targeting in the judge's order is also too vague. Quote, "In the context of the order, it could mean something as innocuous as name or identify, or something much more violent. One could target another with respectful but vigorous political advocacy, or target them for physical violence or death." The ACLU agreed that there is a serious risk that Trump's words can inspire other people to violence, but it contends that the mere fact that others have threatened actions against trial participants after hearing defendants' words is not enough. Of course, surprising no one, after Judge Chutkan stayed the order, Trump wasted no time in resuming his commentary on witnesses and prosecutors. Here he is describing Jack Smith as deranged in a way that would have violated the original order. In the same post, he attacked Anthony Pratt, an Australian businessman who says Trump shared classified information with him at Mar-a-Lago. And Trump also commented on Sidney Powell's guilty plea, clarifying that while she was never his attorney, she did a, quote, valiant job of representing a very unfairly treated and governmentally abused General Mike Flynn. Which is interesting because Powell took a plea deal and is now expected to offer testimony against Trump in the Fulton County case, and could be a witness in the case that Judge Chutkan is presiding over in Washington, D.C. So Judge Chutkan has a conundrum on her hands. Trump's team will brief the court on freedom of speech issues, and prosecutors will respond. But it's anyone's guess what will happen next. Judge Chutkan could invalidate the original gag order and issue a more narrowly tailored gag order. which could create a whole another set of appeals, or maybe not, because it might be so narrowly tailored that it's not worth fighting over. Or she could let the original appeal play out. But Trump is wasting no time in issuing a ton of statements that probably violate the original now stayed gag order. Trump's comments include calling Jack Smith deranged. He comments on the substance of Mark Meadows' alleged testimony and has been lashing out at cooperating witnesses as weaklings and cowards. But Trump's gag order has been covered extensively by more than 190 different news outlets. And 29% of the reporting is coming from the left and 21% is coming from the right. And if you compare the headlines, you'll start to see some interesting frames emerge. On the left, you have outlets using terminology like imposed, ordered, and prohibits with reference to the gag order, while on the right, you'll find outlets using words like slapped with or hits. Those word changes are subtle, but they play a big role in how readers perceive the story. The first set of words might imply authority and precedent, while the second set of words might imply something unfair or immature. And all this is possible thanks to today's sponsor, Ground News, a website and app developed by a former NASA engineer on a mission to give readers an easy, data-driven, objective way to read the news. At Ground News, every story comes with a quick visual breakdown of the political bias, factuality, and ownership of these sources' reporting, all backed by ratings by 3 independent news monitoring organizations. I especially like the Ground News comparison feature, which highlights specific differences between left and right reporting. For the story on Trump's gag order, you can see the left-leaning outlets tend to focus on Trump's legal team opposing the gag order, while the right focuses on statements by Trump calling the indictments election interference and a witch hunt. Now, Ground News also has a blind spot feed, which highlights stories that are disproportionately covered by one side of the political spectrum. This kind of analysis is so important so we don't live in an echo chamber or get misled by subtle and sometimes not so subtle language in the news. So give Ground News a try by clicking on the link that's on screen right now. Ground News is giving Legal Eagle viewers 30% off their Vantage plan. This includes access to a feature called My News Bias, which is basically a dashboard for your news diet. You can find out your top news sources, whether you're engaging with diverse perspectives, and what your favorite topics are. So you can try it out by going to ground.news/legaleagle or click on the link that's on screen right now or down in the description. You can get started for less than $6 a month and support an independent news platform working to make the media landscape more transparent. And after that, click on this link over here for more Legal Eagle, or I'll see you in court.
Adam Abusala worked on President Biden's 2020 campaign in Battleground, Michigan.
Yeah, I was working on Arab-American engagement, getting people out to vote for Biden.
So committed that his Palestinian-American parents put Biden 2020 on his birthday cake that year. But today, as President Biden shows unwavering support for Israel in the wake of Hamas's terror attack, Abusala says he's devastated.
Right now I have family in Palestine who's afraid for their lives, and Biden is doing nothing to stop it. I'm hurt for the betrayal that we feel from Biden, but I also feel like a little bit of guilt for what I've done.
You just listened to part of a Meet the Press report by Shaquille Brewster, who confirms that Arab and Muslim Americans do feel betrayed by President Biden's unequivocal support for Israel and continued support for Israel, even as they indiscriminately murder Gazans who had nothing to do with Hamas's attack on October 7th. Now, this story comes as report after report after report indicates that Biden is burning any goodwill he had left with Arab Americans to the ground. And to make matters even worse, there is a mutiny brewing within the State Department over the administration's stance, with high-ranking Muslim appointees reportedly considering resigning as a result of his decisions lately. And even though Biden has slightly adjusted his rhetoric to acknowledge the humanity of Palestinians a little bit, he still has not condemned Israel's war crimes or demanded a ceasefire, and he's now even downplaying the civilian death toll in Gaza.
News are telling the truth about how many people are killed. I'm sure innocents have been killed, and as a price of waging a war, I think we should be incredibly careful. I think not we, the Israelis should be incredibly careful to be sure that they're focusing on going after the folks that are propagating this war against Israel. And it's against their interest when that doesn't happen. But I have no confidence in the number that the Palestinians are using.
Now, put aside the fact that the Gaza Health Ministry just released the full list of deaths with names and ages that can be verified independently now by journalists, or put aside the fact that his administration is using those numbers internally, which indicates that he's lying there, but this point has to be made. When public officials and pundits deny and downplay what's happening before our very eyes, that is how genocides happen. And to see him say that is absolutely tragic. First of all, he says that Israel should be incredibly careful to go after Hamas in order to limit civilian casualties, but they're not. Limiting aid, shutting off electricity and water is collective punishment, which they admit that they're doing, and that's a war crime, and you haven't condemned them for that. Second of all, Biden is rejecting the death toll being reported by Gaza's health ministry because it's run by Hamas. And it makes sense in theory to not trust what they're saying, right? But as Adam Taylor explains in an article for the Washington Post, many experts consider figures provided by the ministry reliable given its access sources and
Where the
accuracy
fuck
in
am
past
I?
statements. Quote, everyone uses the figures from the Gaza Health Ministry because those are generally proven to be reliable, said Omar Shakir,
I'm in Liam's
Israel and
scum?
Palestine director at Human Rights Watch. In the times in which we have done our own verification of numbers for particular strikes, I'm not aware of any time which there's been some major discrepancy. Now, Shakir stated that they would not use the numbers if they were inaccurate because that also hurts their credibility as well. So despite the fact that Gaza's health ministry is Hamas run like all entities in Gaza, since they are the governing body of Gaza, like it or not, the numbers have been relatively reliable, which is why people use it, which is why Biden's administration internally is citing those numbers. But I mean, for argument's sake, let's just say that Biden is correct and they're embellishing those numbers. Well, as Kyle Kulinski or Dusty Smith says, well, let's just pretend like the numbers are half or even a quarter of what they're saying. That's still a lot of deaths. That's a lot of dead civilians, a lot of dead children. But let's go even further. Let's pretend for a moment that we don't have access to any numbers. No numbers at all. We have no idea.
So this might be a cool planet.
Still, even in the absence of numbers, there are enough high-profile deaths
Oh,
of
this
civilians
looks kinda
that we can see
cool.
on social media. Enough examples of carnage that maybe might give people the perception, perhaps, that Israel isn't being as careful as you want us to think that they are. For example, former lawmaker Justin Amash announced that 2 of his relatives were killed by an Israeli airstrike while they were sheltering in a church. On top of that, moments after Secretary Blinken says he asked Qatari's prime minister to rein in Al Jazeera's coverage of the war in Gaza, an airstrike on the Nuseirat camp in central Gaza wiped out the entire immediate family of Al Jazeera's chief Gazan correspondent. His wife, his daughter, his son, his grandson, they were all killed. And they were taking refuge in this camp after they fled from northern Gaza following the IDF's evacuation order. And on top of that, when you look at satellite images taken before and after Israel's bombing campaign, you'd be naive to assume that this destruction isn't also accompanied by mass deaths. I mean, look at this. If Gazans are lucky enough to survive this, they will be permanently displaced. Many of them already have been displaced, but I mean, entire cities are being
For
leveled.
121,000? It's not that valuable.
With the lack of electricity that Israel
What was
says
the other
they're
thing that
denying
I
to
saw? A
Gazans,
temple.
and with fuel running out, meaning generators
What's in
aren't
that
going to be able
temple
to
that I
operate,
saw? Knowledge
babies
stone?
in incubators and hospitals could literally
Where the
die
temple's at?
unless Israel either allows in additional aid or turns the electricity back on. So putting aside the numbers for a
SSS?
moment, don't you think that
Somebody's
these tragedies,
base?
just a couple that I pointed out,
Check
there are
it out.
many more,
Let's
but
check
just
that out.
these tragedies that I highlighted, along with confessions from Israeli officials that they're focusing on damage and not accuracy, or that Palestinians are culpable for Hamas's crimes too, or that they're human animals, isn't necessarily instilling the most confidence in us that Israel is being as careful as you want us to think that they are? Have you thought at all about the optics and how they don't look good for Israel currently, and that your unequivocal support for Israel kind of makes it seem like you're complicit in their genocide currently? I mean, are you concerned at all? And it seems like you only care about Israeli deaths and have no concern whatsoever for suffering Palestinians. Apparently, these aren't concerns for the Biden administration. And if they are concerns, he sure as hell
he can use
has
his
done a poor
base?
job at showing that he's
Nice.
concerned.
They have other
But the
people's
message
bases
to Arab
up.
Americans is coming in loud and clear. They don't think that he cares. Now, we kind of glossed over the fact that Secretary of State Anthony Blinken is pressuring a government to censor a news agency.
Report
if it
his
has to
base
do
as
so.
offensive or
That would be
inappropriate.
terrible, even if Al Jazeera weren't credible.
Looks
but they
cool.
are
What is the
credible,
fuck is this
and their
thing?
reporting is mostly objective. But see, that's the problem. And
What the
former Israeli
fuck?
Prime Minister Yair Lapid explains why that's a problem.
Where am I? Oh, it was a teleporter. It teleported me inside.
If it just shows both sides, it serves Hamas.
In other words,
Okay.
support for Israel hinges
Ossified
on media being
star.
explicitly biased in their favor, because if people actually
Can I just
saw
steal
the
all
objective
his shit?
truth and the barbarity of Israel's war crimes, they just simply would not support it. So they have to lie to manufacture consent. They have to disseminate propaganda in order for the public to support their genocide in Gaza. And our government is assisting them with that narrative, even after these hypocrites attacked Trump for
Place
calling
too
press
small,
the enemy of the
too
people.
tight.
But now it's perfectly fine if the Secretary of State pressures a
Harvest
government
all-
to censor a
What?
news agency that is doing good work. It's despicable. But I do want to get back to the NBC News report, because there's another clip
Plant
that provides us with
harvester?
important insight that the Biden administration is
What is
apparently
this?
missing.
I didn't know you could build a what?
And now we feel that we have to save Palestine from Joe Biden.
More than 300,000 Americans from
Yeah, I gotta get more salvage parts so I could buy all the like parts to upgrade a house. I didn't know this place could do that. It's cool. I can add it as an attachment to my wood house.
An exit poll from the Council on American Islamic Relations showed nearly 70% of American Muslims
Appearance
back Biden.
modifier.
We're predicting this could be another 2016.
Oh, hallway for nothing. Nice.
Of a nonprofit that studies and works to
Loop-de-loop.
increase the political engagement of
Back to the
American
same
Muslims
exact spot.
called Engage.
145,000 Michigan
Oh,
Muslims went out
fuck,
to
what the
vote in
fuck was that?
2020. Biden needs the Muslim vote in order to win.
Gotta work on that
And
exit.
right now, it doesn't look good.
The White House.
Okay, so these are other people's bases. Where's my ship at?
We mourn every innocent life lost. We can't ignore the humanity of innocent Palestinians who only want to live in peace and have an opportunity.
But the publisher of the Arab American News, who
Mount
last year voted
Carmel.
Democrats in the midterms, is calling for his community to withdraw its support. Did you vote for Biden in 2020?
Yes.
Would you support his reelection?
No. I've already made the decision, and we are not going to endorse him in the paper. It's not only disrespect, disregard to our lives.
In other words, there's an iceberg dead ahead, and Biden is sailing straight into it at full speed. And those aren't the only Arab Americans who've expressed profound disappointment with the Biden administration. NBC News reports, quote, Joe Biden has single-handedly alienated almost every Arab American and Muslim American voter in Michigan, said State Representative Al-Abbas Farhad, a Democrat whose district includes Dearborn, which is home to one of the largest Muslim and Arab American communities in the country. Farhad said he has constituents and neighbors who have family members trapped in Gaza, including some who are American citizens, and they feel completely abandoned by the U.S. government for not doing more to help get them out, get aid in, and pressure Israel for a ceasefire. What I'm hearing now is people feeling completely betrayed by Joe Biden, said Amir Zar, president of New Generation for Palestine, a Dearborn-based network of mostly young Palestinian Americans. People are feeling that the Democratic Party is unequivocally, with a few exceptions, supporting Israel and not humanizing Palestinians and looking at the humanity of Palestinians. Now, as Politico adds, Maysoon Zayed, a Palestinian-American comedian, did everything she could to get Joe Biden elected in 2020, but after watching how Biden has navigated the Israel-Hamas war over the last 2 weeks, Zayed said she can no longer
Take a
vote
picture
for
of
him in
this. What is this?
2024. Quote, the man broke my heart, she said. I never in my life thought the empathizer-in-chief would sound the way he did. The Palestinians were given no humanity, she said. Joe Biden should spend every breath he has condemning Israel's genocide with the same zeal he condemned Hamas's massacre of civilians, that same zeal, and we get nothing. 1,000 children are dead, and we get nothing. So you have a plethora of anecdotal examples of Arab Americans saying they're just not going to vote for Biden again. Full stop. Now, if that isn't a wake-up call for the Biden administration, then nothing will be. Now, I think internally they know and they're scared shitless.
I only have
but they're
one.
Still not reversing
I got the
course. Therefore,
hamburger.
They are willingly
That's
bleeding
it.
support.
I don't
and
have
not
anything
actively
else. I
trying
don't have
to
any
change
glyphs.
what's happening currently. Now, I
No
know that most
glizzy
liberals and even a lot of leftists don't agree with that sentiment that they're not voting
I gotta
for Biden.
go.
They think
Thanks
that
for
they
the
should
adventure.
Vote for Biden because obviously Trump would be worse on the issue of Israel-Palestine. He'd be worse for Arab Americans. He'd be worse for every marginalized community, for poor people, for everyone across the board. And as someone with trans family members, I'm horrified at the prospect of Trump winning. I think he's an existential threat to the existence of my trans family members, and I don't think American democracy can survive another 4 years of Trump. Having said that, though, you don't have to agree with their decision to not vote for Biden, but it's very important that you understand where they're coming from. You can't just lash out in anger at them, which is what liberals usually do when it comes to voters disillusioned with the Democratic Party. you need to listen to what they're saying. They feel hurt. They feel like they're disposable. They feel used. They feel betrayed. They feel like they're not seen by this administration. And if Biden loses Michigan in 2024 because Arab Americans choose to stay home, he could lose the entire election. And guess what? That's on Biden. That's not on them. And Elie Mystal explains why in an op-ed for The Nation that Arab Americans aren't the only voters that Biden is alienating with his behavior here. He writes, Biden risks labeling himself as a president who is in favor of colonization and one who will turn a blind eye to ethnic cleansing and war crimes, and those are tough labels to shake once they take hold in communities of color. Voters of color are strategic and willing to swallow a lot of nonsense and vote for the lesser evil, but there are some who will simply not pull the lever for any president in any party who stands aside while an oppressed people is besieged, starved, and bombed into oblivion. Biden can entirely appropriately call terrorist attacks against Israelis pure evil, but he can't seem to fix his mouth to say turn on the water to civilians living in the desert. He can say that Palestinian people deserve dignity and respect, but can't unequivocally say cutting off electricity to civilians is a human rights violation. I'm sorry, but it's hard to see Biden's personal decency when he can't speak up for the thirsty. Biden is asking black and brown voters to trust that he values all lives equally, but that becomes almost impossible to believe when he endorses the treatment of Palestinians as collateral damage to a counterterrorism campaign. Moreover, I feel like white commentators too easily forget that we live in a country where Trump is a looming threat only because a significant majority of their own cousins and uncles and spouses are set once again to vote for a raving orange clown no matter how many times he gets indicted for crimes. White folks are the ones threatening the future of American democracy. To save it, Democrats need supermajorities of Latino, Asian American, Pacific Islander, and Arab American voters, and they need black people to continue supporting Democrats by well over 80% margins, and they need all those groups to turn out. So just maybe the white anti-Trump crowd could listen to voters of color with some respect when they try to tell you what's wrong with their political approach. Now, Elie goes on to make a really important point. It also must be said that Biden's lack of support for Palestinians is being viewed in the context of his enthusiastic support for Ukraine. The situations are far from analogous, but Biden literally linked his support for Ukraine and support for Israel together in his Oval Office address. It's a politically tone-deaf comparison for Biden to make because linking the two doesn't work in his favor. It's simply not lost on voters of color that when a white country was invaded, Biden sent guns and missiles and money, while all he seems to have for Palestinians is some bottles of water chucked at them from Egypt and the hard-won pronouncement that not every single one of them is a terrorist who should be deleted from existence. So there's a lot of really important points made here by Elie Mystal, and another point that he made that I didn't read to you was if Biden does indeed approve more aid to Israel and another aid package to Ukraine, then voters at some point are going to begin to wonder, what about us? Where's our aid? Because we can barely afford to feed our families. We struggle to pay rent. So when do we get a turn? When do we get aid, right? And I think that that is something that he needs to address, but he doesn't seem concerned at all. But one of the most important points that Elie Mystal made was that
crystal
Democrats,
sulfide
they rely
and
on a strong multi-ethnic, multiracial coalition to win elections. And if they fail to inspire confidence in voters of color that they actually care about the plight of marginalized people, then they may stay home. They risk losing those people. And it's not just Biden. I mean, take a look at members of Congress who signed on to the resolution calling for a ceasefire. You'll probably notice a couple of things. So one is that the list is embarrassingly small, and two, these are exclusively black and brown members of Congress. So it looks really, really bad to see virtually every white Democrat in Congress seemingly turn a blind eye to the suffering of brown people. And it looks even worse to know that they are all dogpiling on the only Palestinian American in Congress right now, lambasting her for daring to speak out in favor of Palestinian human rights. It communicates to voters of color that these Democrats don't actually care about their concerns. They're just votes whose utility is gone after each election. And none of them, not a single Democrat, seems self-aware enough to course correct. Even Bernie Sanders, his own staffers, hundreds of his own staffers came out and said, please, Bernie, we voted for you twice. We supported you monetarily. We volunteered for you.
Why am I cable
Please support
showing?
a ceasefire. He has not done that. He released a milquetoast statement. So I don't think that they understand how bad they are hurting themselves right
There we
now
go.
by being so tone deaf, by refusing to listen. But the issue goes even deeper than that. Because Biden's stance here is not just alienating Arab Americans and voters of color, but he's also alienating young voters. And he's already doing terrible in that regard as well. But this
Base
could hurt him
terrain
even more.
edits? How come
As
I can't put
Alexander
it
Salmon
down?
of Slate explains, a recent
What the
Quinnipiac
fuck?
poll underscores Biden's disastrous
Must be
standing with the
constructed
youth vote. The
underwater.
president's favorability rating has cratered out at an almost unbelievable
There is a water
25%
planet I've been to.
among registered voters under 35 years
Where
old.
is it?
Now, Biden's Israel policy threatens to deepen that divide even further.
I
Again,
coulda
it's
went
wise
through
to
the
not
door.
overreact to polls, but the data is not terribly ambiguous on this. On this issue, young voters are far from the president, who publicly remains hawkish and unstinting in a way that has not kept pace with their political attitudes or even those to a lesser degree of the Democratic Party. Biden has continued to pledge unquestioning and total support for Israel, even as human rights groups sound the alarm about the threat of the Israeli military committing ethnic cleansing against Palestinians, human rights groups' inability to deliver anything resembling sufficient aid to Gaza, and comments from Israeli military leaders that indicate a willingness to target civilians. Biden's Thursday night public address on the matter, which broadcast right around the same time that Israel was bombing one of the world's oldest churches, killing 16 people, was cheered by Fox News, which is not incidentally a youth outlet. But none of the ways that Biden has responded to the
What the
conflict
fuck?
have been received favorably by young Americans.
What
That
the
same
fuck
Quinnipiac
happened to my
poll
shit?
found that 51% of voters under 35 say they disapprove of the United States sending weapons and military support to Israel, a much higher
What
figure
the
than
fuck happened to
28%
all
of
my
Americans who
shit?
oppose such a policy. Only 21%
God
of
damn
voters
it.
under 35 say they approve of Biden's Israel policy. 42% of
What
voters
the
across
fuck,
all age
man? Is
brackets
this why
approve.
everybody in the
CBS
game
News
builds
poll
their
conducted
shit
last
above
week came
ground?
to an even starker conclusion.
Uh,
when asked if the U.S. should send weapons and
I
supplies
cleared
to
out this
Israel,
whole
59%
shit,
of
man.
respondents under 30
Are
said
you
it should
fucking
not.
kidding
And
me?
even more
Whatever,
resounding,
man.
64% of those between the ages
Whatever.
of 30 and 44, a bracket more likely to vote that carries the whole millennial generation and part of Gen X, said the U.S. should not. So little by little, Biden is driving a wedge between him and the people that he needs the most to win in 2024. But he's not adjusting right now. And Simon also pointed out that young people were already disillusioned with Biden for restarting student loan payments without the $10,000 to $20,000 in promised cancellation. I mean, after the Supreme Court struck down his initial plan, he said he would pursue cancellation through his authority under the Higher Education Act. We've heard nothing to this point. And this handling of the issue certainly has
Hydrothermal
not helped.
fuel
And
cell.
you've got to remember that millennials
What?
like myself, we grew
Salt,
up during the Bush
cytophosphate,
years, so we're
and
very sensitive
carbon.
when it comes to U.S. foreign policy.
Oh, I gotta
especially
farm a
in
lot
the
of
Middle
shit to
East.
keep this
So
thing
in response
running.
to 3,000 Americans dying
Alright,
on
never
9/11,
mind.
we watched our government butcher more than 1 million
Let's take it for a little
Iraqis who
drive,
had
at least
nothing
see
to
how
do
it
with
runs.
9/11 in response.
It's got
And
no
now it
energy.
feels like we're already watching history repeat
Alright,
itself.
whatever.
In
Let's
response
let
to
it
the
run for a little
tragic
bit.
attack in Israel on October 7th, thousands of Gazans who had nothing to do with that attack are now being killed. Over 1,000 children. Now the number is around 2,000. So many young people are just not going to accept what Biden is doing. A lot of people aren't going to, including older people as well, because people don't have an appetite for war. And even if this gets us embroiled in broader conflict in the Middle East, it's going to be even worse for
Can you
Biden.
go underwater?
Now, a Gallup poll released on the 26th also found that his approval among Democrats dropped by 11 points, which is a stunning new low for his presidency, and it's a huge red flag. And correlation doesn't necessarily equal causation, so we can't definitively say that that drop that we're seeing is specifically due to his mishandling of this situation, but it's not unreasonable to think that it could contribute to that. It's not
Repeater
unreasonable to
signal
assume that he
detected.
should
I'm
right
just trying to
now
go underwater,
start to win
man.
back the voters that he lost. So I need to be very blunt when I say this. Biden's inhumane, one-sided response to Israel's war in Gaza could literally cost him the election, and as a result, kill democracy in the United States permanently. This is serious. He needs to
Can I
take
collect
this
the crystal
serious.
sulfide
But
from the ship?
He is fucking up royally right now and doesn't understand that he has to reverse course. Otherwise, we're all going to pay for his mishandling, his genocidal rhetoric here. But the good news is that
Oh,
it's not too
what
late
the
to turn it
fuck?
around. We can still save democracy. But
Oh, the
it's
thing
gonna
heated
require
me. It
Biden
hurt
to
me.
actually fucking try for a change. And he can start by being more like the
out.
1986 version of Biden who grilled then President Ronald Reagan.
What was that
Secretary
thing
of
you're
State,
asking me to look at?
over South
Some kind
African
of
apartheid.
signal?
So I will leave you with that.
What disturbs me more than the policy that you call a policy is the rationale for the policy. The rationale for the policy. You set out 4 principles that you adhere to, and then
I tried the exosuit.
Over them in a moment.
My Minotaur can go underwater.
14, we
Forgot.
must not become part of South Africa's problem. We must remain part of their solution. We must not aim to impose ourselves, our solutions, our favorites in South Africa. Damn it, we have favorites in South Africa. The favorites in South Africa are the people who are being repressed by that ugly white regime. We have favorites. Our loyalty is not to South Africa, it's to South Africans. And the South Africans are majority black, and they are being excoriated. It is not to some stupid puppet government over there. It is not to the Afrikaners regime. We have no loyalty to them. We have no loyalty to South Africa, to South Africans.
Oh, that's 21 hours away. Never mind. Sunken treasure. Let's get it.
It is the leaders of South Africa and their people, black and white, who have the majority responsibility. They must rise to it. Well, they are rising to it. They're rising to it. The only thing left available to them with that repulsive, repugnant regime of Afrikaners there. And it's the only way they have. They've tried everything for the last 20 years. They begged, they borrowed, they crawled, and now they're taking up arms. Second thing, progress toward peace requires a timetable. Timetable, elimination of apartheid. What's our timetable? What are we saying to that repugnant regime? Are we saying you've got 20 days, 20 months, 20 years? We ask them to put up a timetable. What's our timetable? These people are being crushed. And we're sitting here with the same kind of rhetoric. The same thing we heard. We heard go slow. We heard we have to take care of the problem afterwards. We heard we can't impose.
You are totally misconstruing the testimony that I gave.
Read first.
Furthermore, Senator, let me say that I hate to hear a senator of the United States calling for violence.
I'm not calling for violence.
That's what you're doing.
I hate to hear.
Exactly what you're doing.
I hate to hear an administration and a Secretary of State refusing to act on a morally abhorrent point. I hate to hear this country. I'm ashamed that this country puts out a policy like this that says nothing. Nothing.
Let's go. Oh, god damn it. It's gonna be rough to get through. Let's go. Oh shit, we're going deep. The fuck? Well, you got cytophosphate stuff down here. Nice. Holy shit. What the fuck is that? I'm ready. Come on. Give me that eyeball. Holy shit, this... Oh my god, we're so deep underwater. Holy shit. Whew, damn. Chlorine and dihydrogen. Wow, thing's kind of thick. How much hydrogen we get from that? 20. Eh. Chlorine. Calpsac. I'm gonna break all this shit down here. Nice. Salt, ferrodust. Yeah, I might build a base out here. It's kind of nice. We could do some underwater farming. Do they have clams and shit? Yeah, they got clams. More clams? Yeah, plenty of clams. Clams everywhere. Hella clams. What the fuck is that? On my way back. Summon a fucking apocalypse freighter. Jesus. I want to upgrade the Nautilon, as a matter of fact. I want to set a base here. We could just go to the dioxide farm. Oh, I forgot about my platinum. Though I'd expect the large refiner to do a double. So they can only process 4,000 at a time. The storage only has 50 slots. I really wish it had more. Doesn't really matter. So what did I need to upgrade the Nautilon? I really wish there was like an upgrade station or something I can access and upgrade all my exocrafts. Cause now I can only upgrade it when I'm at an underwater base. God damn it. This game doesn't have enough like streamlining with the refining, with the purchasing, the nanites and stuff. I was hoping to play this for a long time, but god damn, man. Maybe Farming Simulator might be better. Fuck, man. I could have made so many nanites and upgraded my ship. And I could work on getting more ships, have a whole collection of ships. Ah, man. I really wish this game was better. It's also really stupid with the power station, because the power station is, like, what's the point of power? What am I just gonna power a whole agriculture base? Like, I can't power refineries to make shit extra fast or do it in bulk. I have to come back every 16 minutes to... God, this game's fucking dumb. I have to go to a water planet to upgrade my water exocraft. Maybe there's like a building plan or something I'm missing that I can... Because getting salvage parts is extremely slow. Like, goddamn. Like, can I just buy the building plans? Let's go to the space anomaly, see what upgrades they have. Oh, Biodome. Here it is. I already have it. But the places are... This place is so fucking small. Like, these building areas are so tiny. Like, goddamn, they should have made it larger. It's so... I don't know. It's just not comfortable to get around. Fucking sucks. These are large prefabs, too. Like, what the fuck is a small prefab gonna... It's probably like a little fucking one-man cube. You're just standing there, you only have room to piss yourself. They should have made this more streamlined. Like, goddamn, you want people playing this shit for, like, years, then... You gotta make it a little easier to navigate. Does this have a deep water chamber? So this is underwater shit. Yeah, it costs so much building plans. You gotta... Ah, man. I'm good. Alan Wake 2 looks good. Alan Wake 2 looks good. Wait for Spider-Man to finish. I gotta get my platinum trophy. Fucking slackline trophy is bugged. Might start Farming Simulator. That could be interesting. Let's see if it's better than No Man's Sky. I want to look at some reviews. What up,
So recently, I was, for lack of a better term,
Farming Simulator 22. Can you what? Like own a house?
scammed into getting the Xbox Game Pass. Alright, I guess while I still have it, I might as well enjoy some of the fine games they have on offer. Turns out there isn't that many that I wanted to play anyway, and the Windows Store doesn't exactly make it easy to find games that you can actually play with the Game Pass. Because why would they, right? And after spending a few days absolutely obliterating my sister on JoJo's All-Star Battle...
Get off your high horse. I'm
Kansas. I thought I was pretty much done. Until one bored Discord call night, we stumbled upon Farming Simulator 22. My eyes widened, thoughts filled with infinite meme potential as I clicked install. It has multiplayer, you say? Oh my god. And it's Swiss developers. I mean, that's basically Germany. And we all know a thing or two about the meme that are German simulator games. Classics such as Factory Fire Safety, The Simulator, or how about Military Simulator? That's ambitious. Needless to say, my expectations were pretty low going into this new agricultural adventure. However, these were expectations that the game managed to surpass surprisingly quickly. Let me just start off by saying that Farming Simulator 22 is 100% the type of game you should play while watching a stream or a long video on your other monitor.
Yeah.
Trust me, I know a thing or two about those types of games. While there are some longer-term decisions you're going to have to make throughout your playtime, the vast majority of your farming sim experience is going to be spent alone with your thoughts. If you're a millennial or Gen Z, that's sure to send a shiver down your spine. So keeping yourself sane with an external stim is advised. That's not to say that this is some kind of negative trait of the game, however. How long any given task is going to take you is entirely dependent on how you go about it. And the only thing I really ended up finding frustrating about Farming Simulator 22 was the fact that it doesn't really teach you how to play properly in the beginning. It technically has a tutorial, but it's less than stellar IMO. So to find out if Farming Simulator 22 is going to be your next grind or not, you can either A, look up some gameplay footage of a real farmer gamer, or B, stick around with Farmer Hubbis, as I set out on my brand new endeavor. Alright, city boy. The first thing every new player is going to have to do when starting a new game is getting through the initial noob trap of selecting a career mode type. One might think that the new farmer setting might be the best place to start. And with that mindset, you have now been trapped. Sure, they might lure you in with a plethora of starting vehicles, some land, and the prospects of a profitable economy. However, there are problems with this. First of all, a new with a plethora that might think that However, there are problems with this. First of all, a new player isn't going to know what most of this equipment they've seemingly inherited from their third uncle even does. And honestly, a lot of it is pretty redundant. You can easily get away with just a single tractor for most of the early game, let alone the 3 that this mode starts you with. Combine this with the fact that this promised land you were told about is about the size of an impressive garden, and that you only have 100 grand to spend, and all of a sudden, this mode is more restrictive than freeing. You can either start selling some of your equipment to try and get enough money together for some better land, or you can just not even bother with this mode, opting for the superior Farm Manager instead. In this mode, you start off with nothing but a cold, hard 1.5 million in your bank account. This will incentivize you to buy land and equipment as you need it, meaning that you will get to know exactly what piece of equipment fulfills which purpose. But you see, child, there's also the small matter of where you want to found thy new plantation. For we have 3 distinct options. Ellengrat is home to a picturesque, scenic landscape.
I'm gonna watch some all the time.
Offering